Hey guys, this is Cobra One. So, this is my chapter assessment from the Army. I'm releasing this because I want to put my demons away. And I want to show you guys what I'm talking about. And I want to put this out there so this doesn't happen to anyone again. Because this was a very biased, unfair, and targeted chapter assessment. And I'm going to talk about it. But first, let me talk about the person that gave it. It was Captain Janine Basali. I met her doing a weekly safety check when I was on a behavioral health profile. I sit down and I tell her, I forgot exactly what I said, but I started venting to her. And she doesn't really look at me. She just does this. She goes, well, this is just a safety check. I'm like, I get it. I'm just struggling. And then we talked briefly. Then she reiterates, this is just a safety check. I'm thinking... Now, one might say, you're an NCO, you should have known how that works. Well, yes, when I was at Fort Campbell and I was doing those same safety checks, they wanted to listen to me. They wanted to know how I was doing. Not, are you suicidal, homicidal? Yes, no. No? All right. See you later. But also, though that was kind of the impression she gave me, why didn't she say it? I wasn't in the state of mind. I needed help. That's what the fuck she's there for. You know? I needed help. So that was my first impressions of her. Then, when I attempted, I'm in the hospital. My commander sits me down and goes, so, Captain Basali and Major Pantinari are going to do your chapter assessment. Very ominous, and I was already freaked out. So, first, I'm going to read you the chapter assessment, and then I'm going to tell my side. Alright, this could be out of order, how I read it. I'm going to read you all of them. These are the exact same screenshots of my chapter assessment from my medical records that I sent to WTF Moments and Thank Means for Dragon Teens and FUBAR Actual. So I'm just going to read it. Oh, you fucking piece of shit. Service member was screened for PTSD during this evaluation. PCL minus 5 equals 39. SM predominantly endorsed negative alterations in cognitive and mood, negative feelings, loss of interest, distant cutoff from others, difficulty experiencing positive feelings, and arousal and reactivity symptoms, irritability and anger, hypervigilance, problems with sleep. Upon further questioning, his response, SM status symptoms were related to problems with leadership, investigation, and concerns regarding the administrative separation. The SM did endorse witnessing a young boy being molested while deployed to Iraq, however, denies symptoms related to the event. He denied any other criterion event. Further, SM denied any history of disassociation. Symptoms do not constitute matters extenuation that relate to the basis for administrative separation. Symptoms do not significantly contribute to the reason for separation. SM was screened for alcohol use disorder. SM AUDTIT C equals 8. SM clarified that he does not currently consume alcohol and completed the screener with his typical consumption before referring into the SUD-C. SM was screened for a history of sexual assault and harassment during military service. Screening was negative. SM screened for TBI. During his evaluation, screening was negative. SM denied symptoms associated with mania and psychosis. So there's some good there. Past history: SM was first screened for behavioral health as a walk-in March 2018. There he reported suicidal ideation since 2017. Felt depressed, suicidal ideation. With intent plan hanging himself, documentation also indicates cutting his wrist in February 2018. Did not seek medical attention. His diagnosis was listed as unspecified depressive disorder. Again, these are out of order. I'm trying to find this new iOS update, man. Assessment and treatment plan. SBC Shoker is a 25-year-old white single heterosexual cisgender male, 11 Bravo infantryman. He was evaluated for administrative separation under Chapter 14A, minor patterns of misconduct. SM was evaluated while in patient status due to suicide attempt on February 24th. In response to learning his command team would be pursuing administrative actions based on his assessment, the SM has demonstrated a long-standing pattern of difficulties with his interpersonal relationships. This is evident in his work history prior to the Army, which led to him being fired, transferred multiple platoons company in interpersonal conflict with several units. Further, although at times he is able to acknowledge his wrongdoing, he tends to place blame on others and portrays a sense of self-importance and grandiosity. Since late adolescence, early adulthood, SM has also demonstrated difficulty with affective and impulse control, evident by his trouble controlling his irritability, emotions, and responses to stress. He is easily overwhelmed, particularly when he does not get his way, which often results in exacerbation of symptoms, include multiple instances of suicidal ideations, multiple attempts, which then quickly resolves when steps are made in place to help support the SM. Safety patterns, plans, profiles. SM on 2 separate occasions have viewed these interventions as overreaction on part of others, rather than acknowledging his role. In instances, SM's medical reveals multiple diagnoses, including major depressive disorder, adjustment disorders, alcohol use disorders, multiple codes V/Z, irritability, anger problems related to upbringing, low self-esteem, other problems related to employment. However, after review of the medical record and clinical interview, SM's patterns of symptoms are suggestive of a personality disorder, effectively, and impulse control, which led to significant distress. This pattern can be traced back to adolescence. SM patterns of experience and behavior such as both narcissistic and borderline features. Based on this evaluation and review of medical record, SBC Shoker presentation is suggestive of grandiose self-importance evident by statements. The other soldiers were poor quality, so I had to step in and show them how to make them quality soldiers. I went to the commander and told him he was doing everything wrong, and I knew how to fix it. Furthermore, SBC Shoker displayed arrogant, haughty behavior and general sense of entitlement, which feels as though must go his way with his unit, his peers, his command, and his family, and has unreasonable expectations and favorable treatment by peers and his command. Additionally, SM disclosed he no longer speaks with his siblings because they don't have lives together like I do, and unable to acknowledge his shortcomings. Additionally, Specialist Shoker endorsed a pervasive pattern of instability, self-image, interpersonal relationships, impulsivity, and affect beginning in late adolescence, early adulthood. There is evidence markedly unstable self-image and sense of self. There is a pattern of unstable, intense interpersonal relationships categorized by alternating extremes of ideations and valuations, potentially damaging SMs such as substance abuse, alcohol use, endorsed recurrent suicide ideation and behaviors as evident by multiple suicide attempts, with his most recent requiring surgery due to laceration to left forearm. Furthermore, he endorsed active instability as noted by his irritability, depressive and anxious mood, inappropriate and intense anger, which are in response to stress and quickly resolve. And when he recognizes the symptoms are limiting him, he then tends to blame others, implementing safety measures, and will view others overreacting to the situation rather than acknowledging his role. Disposition: based on the provider's evaluation, review of medical documentation, SM is not likely appropriate for long-term military service due to a personality disorder. There is no evidence of mental defect, emotional illness, or psychiatric disorder of sufficient severity to warrant disposition through military medical channels. The soldier is mentally responsible, can distinguish right from wrong, and possesses sufficient mental capacity to understand, participate intelligently, and respondent to any administrative proceedings. The SM currently meets behavioral health fitness for duty standards per AR 40-501, paragraph 3-33. June 7th, 2018. On October, there we go. So was not seen again in behavioral health until from 30 October 2018 to January 28, 2020, when he attended 2 orientation groups. Documentation stated SM was experiencing irritability, anxiety, overwhelmed. He stated work is stressful and the environment is negative. His diagnosis was listed as other problems related to psychosocial circumstances. He has been seen February 25th, 2020 at intake. SM engaged in treatment. Life skills. SM denied anxiety, depressive symptoms. The diagnosis of occupational problems. The provider stated SM with concerns with inadequate coping skills secondary to occupational distress. The SM did not follow up with his encounter. Seen next by Behavioral Health on 13 November as a walk-in. Provider documented my stated on data sheet my SL and PSG are in Iraq and they are using social media to harass me on my rear D. Chain of command and my SL threatened to rip off my deployment patch. I'm shaking in fear. For months I have had possible panic attacks. Later determined they're anxiety attacks. Documentation states SM had recently returned from deployment from October 2020. SM stated the encounter: I don't feel safe going to work right now. Scared of possible UCMJ actions over false allegations of shooting on military land. My squad leader is saying that he will rip off my deployment badge. So I want to cut that off there. About 30 minutes outside of Fort Bragg, me and my buddies built a range, which if you hop on GDR Archives YouTube channel, which I'll leave a link down below, is where we would go shoot. In North Carolina, as long as you're 150 meters from a road or man-made structure, you can shoot. I uploaded a video on YouTube, and the location of the upload was Fort Bragg. So what I assumed happened is they thought I was shooting on Fort Bragg. Then there was the other dude in my platoon who they believed was doing it, and they were more out for him. So I was mainly feared the unknown, but later found out that situation was we were good. Here. He becomes easily distressed at times, has inability to control his anxiety when it is bombarded and harassed. SM endorsed minor weight gain, look isolation since his redeployment, daily lack of energy, becoming easily distressed. He denied sleep issues, appetite changes, guilt, panic attacks, generalized anxiety disorder, generalized anxiety, and suicidal ideations at the time. His diagnosis was listed as other problems related to employment. SM's follow-up on January 11, 2020 described mood as pretty good and went on a report. Anxious symptoms due to poor self-esteem, blah, blah, blah. Occupational stress, excessive worry, controlling restlessness, keyed up on edge. Keyed up on edge. That's important. Keyed up on edge. Difficulty concentrating, irritability, sleep disturbances. Documentation indicates low self-esteem occurs when he receives negative critique and feedback. Some also reported being bullied in school and while in the Army, causing him to shut down, does not perform well, or when he receives negative feedback from others. Diagnosis was listed as low self-esteem, problems related to employment. SM was requested to discontinue behavioral health services on February 3rd, 2021 per documentation. Appearance, no apparent distress, occupational stress, 2 days. I went to Walmack, underwent. If you guys saw my video on my complete history in behavioral health, this is when my mother called General Donahue and told him I was suicidal. Went to the hospital, cleared, left the same day, we were good. And then quickly off a profile. I think I was on a profile, but I was quickly taken off that. I'm not seen again by BH until October 23rd. So from February 21 to October of 2023, there's no behavioral health. It's when October 24, 23 is when I was seen again. To address family distress, childhood memories. Yeah, I went in to address distress, childhood memories. SM was seen on 19 Feb 21. Depressive mood. We already went over that. SM was not seen again by BH until... So, alright, what I read to you guys was them going over my entire history. So, let me put it into perspective. You are welcome to reach out to WTF Moments, Dank Memes for Dragon Teens, and Fubar Actual. I've given them permission to share details as well. I'm not hiding anything. I left the little snippets out, but whatever I left out, they're more than welcome to release. It was just admin stuff. It was difficult because it was out of order. Those are in files. I have labeled the bad things, so that's why I went a little backwards. So here's my side of the story. When I was in the hospital, they did my chapter assessment not even 2 days after I attempted suicide. It was not long after I attempted. Captain Basali and Daniela Pettinari came into the room. As we sat down, we were doing my assessment. When they were asking me these questions that you saw there, here's what was really going on. So what about this, huh? And I would have a startled reaction. And they would put that in there. It would kind of anger me, like, why are you talking to me this way? They put that in there. They would ask me, another thing I want to bring up, the job. So I brought up, I was trying to show them growth, that I've grown. I was like, yeah, when I was 16, at the time, I was under a lot of stress and I remembered something wrong, right? I had a job at McDonald's. I said something dumb and got fired when I was 16 in high school. Well, I quit that job, and tried to get it back, and they wouldn't hire me back because they said I was a poor performer. Where I read that employment outside of civilian shows my instability. I was 16 years old. I was a fucking kid. I was 25 at that time. Ain't no way in hell I didn't grow whatsoever. As my officer buddy described Basali to me, this is a bitch. This is somebody that will gaslight you, use every little word and twist it against you. And that's exactly what Basali did. She would constantly interrupt me. I would be telling my side of the story. I would be explaining it. And she would go, okay. What about this, huh? It was a full-on interrogation. And as I'm explaining myself, she would cut me off. I was cut off multiple times during that interview. And in the end, they said, all right, we're going to sit down and talk to you about our diagnosis of you. First, I was shown the prognosis and then the criteria for diagnosis, and I already knew it was bullshit. It was other specified adult personality disorder with borderline features. They couldn't outright diagnose me with borderline like what I believe they were planning to quickly 514 me out of the Army. But what they were doing is they were trying to make it other specified, but he has borderline features, so that there would be no hope of me trying to get back in the Army. even though other specified, if I read the medical regulation, other specified personality disorder doesn't stop you from getting in the military. Because what that means is you may have a personality disorder, but you probably don't. You got some symptoms. I talked about the time I saw a kid get molested in Iraq. Well, that's how I developed PTSD. I saw a 14-year-old get molested, and they put in there denial of PTSD so that I couldn't get any VA support outside the Army. That's what I think. They wanted to avoid diagnosing me with PTSD. Personality disorders, by Army regulation, you were born with them, and you 514 out, you lose your VA benefits. That's how it really used to be. There was a narrative. She was friends with Taylor England, and Janine Basali wanted to fit the narrative to help her out, to help her girl out. How did Janine Basali know that I was fired from multiple companies? Did she serve with me? Was she in my chain of command? No. I have in my military service record 2 NCOERs, one highly qualified and one qualified. If I really was fired like they said, I would have not been rated a qualified leader. I would not have been rated highly qualified. Anytime I moved a company, I was like, hey, I don't like the environment. Can I move companies? Leadership said yes. I went to S3. Stayed there a minute. You're not supposed to sit in S3 as an E5, all right? You got to get your time in. So they sent me to DECO. That was the plan. That is what the Sergeant Major of 2502 planned. They sent me down to DECO. My leadership, Bruce Anthony, Christopher Emko, and Taylor England, looked at my soldier talent profile, and they were looking for anything to screw me over on. So they told Behavior Health that I was fired multiple times due to seeing me move 2 separate companies in the 101st on my soldier talent profile, and then seeing me transfer companies in 2 Fury. If I transferred companies, that means that, all right, go here. You go where you're told. And if you want to go somewhere and they let you do it, you do it. In no way does this mean I was fired. They wanted to help Behavior Health out, and Behavior Health wanted to help my leadership out, fit that false narrative, to make me look like a Looney Tune, to kick me out because they were mad that I defended my roommate, that they pushed over the edge to a point where he was suicidal. And they hated me for it, and they wanted to do this to fit that narrative. I knew something was shady because as they were talking to me, Basali and Pettinari were out in the hallway, and I could hear them having a bit of an intense conversation. I knew what was going on. So Basali comes back in, and any question I had, she would quickly talk over me and interrupt me. I said, so maybe there was a mistake here, Captain Basali. Oh, no, there wasn't. You're impulsive. I'm like, did you you remember when we were talking about my squad leader and I picked up his leadership traits? Did you mistakenly think I picked up his personality? Yeah, no, you copied his personality. I said, well, hold up now. I don't think that's true. I think you're trying to, well, it was nice meeting you. She stuck out her hand, shook it, walked out, left the hospital like a bat out of hell. Never saw Janine Basali or Daniela Pettinari ever again. And any time when I was going to Behavior Health, I had to file an IG complaint because they put in my records that I threatened my CO when there's a 15-6 to disprove that. My leadership was telling Behavior Health this without giving them the 15-6, and Behavior Health was going with it. I had to file an IG complaint against the Robinson Behavior Health Clinic, against Captain Graziano, and against other providers, my commander as well, for spreading this false narrative and move clinics. Things got real quiet after that. But anytime I brought up, and I would sit there calmly and say, hey, excuse me, I don't think I have a personality disorder. Yeah, you do. What about the multiple suicide attempts? Most people with personality disorders don't commit suicide. They'll say, you better do this or I'll kill myself. That's what someone with a personality disorder does. Someone who actually tries to die has depression. Sorry, battery died. That's what someone with a personality disorder does. They use it as a tool to get what they want, and they manipulate people. I just wanted to die, dude. I don't know what to tell you. I just wanted to go 6 feet under. So that is my assessment, and that is what started Cobra One. That is how I got on WTF Moments, and that is, for those who still think I'm lying, I get it. I fucked up. I did some retarded shit. I was trying to process a lot of things that happened in my life. All right? That Article 15 at Campbell, I wanted 60 days of leave to be myself, be Bill, not Sergeant Shoker, not a fucking anything. Just be me and process what happened to me and heal. Go to therapy on the side and heal. I wanted that. And couldn't have it. I made mistakes and I was willing to own up to them, willing to learn from them. But because my commander was so hurt that I called her a bitch, she obsessively attacked my career and me to a point where I attempted suicide. During this conversation that I had with Basali, right, we were talking, and she said, so hey, what do you want to do when you get out of the Army, huh? I want to be a cop. Oh, you can't be a cop with this diagnosis. Isn't there something else you want to do? I said, not really. Oh. And in that moment, I knew what you were doing, Basali, if you're watching this. You were taking advantage of my weak state because you empathize with your girl Taylor. Like, how dare he call my girl a bitch? I'm going to back her. I'm going to get him for that. And that's exactly what you did. Because after that chapter assessment, I knew what you were doing. That's why you shook my hand and ran out of there. That's why I never saw you again after that chapter assessment. Because you knew what the hell you were doing. And I know that there's something going on in the back door. I know that there was, no, he threatened his CO. No. Because somebody was going, hey, what are you guys doing here? Something's wrong here. What are you guys doing wrong? And you guys were scared, trying to manipulate this false narrative. Anytime I go to behavioral health, hey, Shoker, you're there. Your commander wants you to know this. I said, hey, can you stop bringing up my commander? You're not part of my chain of command. I want this therapy to be about me. You're telling me things I already know. Because my commander was trying to use behavioral health to manipulate me into taking that Chapter 14C, which, as soon as I discharged from the hospital and got in contact with my Rear D commander and said, I'm going to my separation board, he called her, told her that. She freaked out and changed the chapter to a 13 unsat performance with a recommendation of honorable, promising me I will get you an honorable as soon as I said I'm going to my separation board. I'm making this video because randomly throughout the day, I'll be back in the past. I'll be sitting in my bed. I'll be back in that assessment, trying to say what I should have said, trying to fucking fix what happened, but I can't, guys. It's in the past. And I wanted to show you how it affected me leaving the Army too. I knew what they did. And I knew that if I lost that board, I was going to get them some way on the back end. So when I got out, one of my soldiers from Campbell invited me to his house in Ohio. Said, you're out now? You can stay with me for a bit till you figure things out. So I moved to Ohio. As I get to Ohio, I got an email from Womack. They emailed me my records that I requested. And I opened up my records and I saw that chapter assessment. And when I read it, I knew with the chapter I got, I could go in the reserves or National Guard, no problem. Just take a while, maybe some waivers. When I read that assessment, I sat in the camper that I was living in, that he had on his property, and I put a 9mm on my head. Because I gave up on everything. With everything Bruce Anthony put me through, fucking Taylor put me through, Taylor England, Basali, all that, the memories. Just know, what am I going to do? And I couldn't handle it. But then in that moment, I got angry. I said, how dare these people put me in this situation? And I was mad at myself for choosing to dwell down into it. So then I got out my phone and I started recording and I started Cobra One. I'd always wanted to do YouTube, and I thought now's the time to do it. Started making the videos. I was just rage baiting. I was raging all over the place. Wasn't organized. Got to comment, tell the whole story. And I realized, oh yeah, I'm not telling the fuck-ups I did. I decided to wait a day. Next day I wake up, my entire YouTube channel's gone. My YouTube Premium subscription gone. My YouTube music, my albums, my songs, gone. So now I was determined to get back on social media. So I started going on my Instagram page and I started posting. And then I went, wait a minute. No. So I deleted everything. But before I did, one of my good buddies from 4th Platoon Deco, 2 Fury, I'm proud of you, dude, for exposing this shit. And that motivated me more. I realized I had to get this out here. I was keeping tabs on Red Devils. I knew people were watching me. And I wanted them to, and I wanted to get my story out there. So I created a new Gmail, and I started this Cobra one that you're viewing right now. I put my story out there for all to see. Toxic Leadership part 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I'll leave a link down to Toxic Leadership Part 4 down below. And from there, it just went on. I was living with the memory, so I called the Robinson Behavioral Health Clinic. I said, hey, can you guys apologize to me? They said, hell, we can't help you. I said, I just want an apology, even if it's just you. Yeah, we can't help you. I said, okay. So then I went on my IG page and I shitposted Petnari, England, Emco, that fucking douchebag, and Dahlberg. And then I sent that to WTF Moments. He said, whoa, he saw what I said about Petnari in a post that's no longer visible anymore. He said, you got proof? Yep. And the chapter assessment I read to you in the beginning of this video, as soon as I sent it to him, I said, what do you think? He said, you want to come on my podcast? And that's how I got on WTF Moments podcast. I'll leave a link to that down below as well. So I started this channel because I realized something in that moment. When I got out, I was happy, scared, angry all at the same time because I was free. And I'm still free, guys. But I realized something. That's going to happen to someone else. I saw the way they treated my roommate. And I saw, when I was on the ward, I remember we were all sitting together and this one chick went, I can't stand going to Robinson. They don't give a fuck about us. They just gossip with our leadership about what we talk about. And I realized that there is something going on. And at that time, WTF Moments was working with Walmack, saying with cases of soldiers complaining about mistreatment in Walmack and Walmack's behavioral health system. And I realized I needed to put it out there for them. And I wanted to do this to use an outlet. Behavior health is an entitled resource to soldiers. All soldiers are entitled to it. All service members are entitled to it. It is not a privilege. It is not something you can use against you. Why was my behavioral health assessment involving false narratives? How did they know I was fired from multiple companies? What evidence was presented to them other than word of mouth? Did they look at my soldier talent profile? Did they look at my NCOERs? No, they didn't. They wanted to validate and back up a commander because they just view soldiers who go to behavioral as shitbags and wanted to help them kick me out and not be fair and not give me the help that I desperately fucking needed at that time, man. Reading that gave me such a panic attack. But I said, fuck that. I'm better than her. Janine Basali, you will never define me. Your assessment is a joke. Everybody I sent it to is either enraged at it or laughs at it. You are a woke, liberal piece of shit who wears the uniform. You're not a soldier. You just wear the uniform and say you do a job. You steal just shy of 6 figures of taxpayer money to sit in an air-conditioned office and say you're a soldier. And while not doing your job and giving soldiers the care they need, but just hanging out with your girlfriends and doing favors like helping write bullshit chapter assessments to kick people out. Well, I got news for you, bitch. This is not the army that I was raised in. And it will not be the army of the future. I am mouthy. I will never shut my fucking mouth. And I will never, ever, as long as I can control it, or try to, let someone like you get away with this shit. I'm just glad I could finally put it out in the open for you guys. It affected me for the longest time, but Janine Basali doesn't control my life, my reputation. She doesn't control anything in my life, and she never will. When you attack somebody's character, that is a loan you're going to pay back with high interest. And I promise you, Basali, come hell or high water, you're going to pay for this. In any way, shape, or form, am I threatening anybody? Absolutely not. But you will pay legally. You will pay with money. If I got to sue you, I will. I don't give a fuck. But as much as I want to do that, I'm going to let the Lord handle it. The Lord doesn't let his children get done dirty and then lets the person get away with it. Jesus gets revenge for you. Turning to God has been the greatest thing in my life. It's brought me peace. And finally accepting what gave me PTSD. Because if you saw that assessment, guys, I was trying to avoid talking about that situation where I had to watch that 14-year-old get molested at all costs, which is a sign of PTSD. And why I got diagnosed with PTSD in the VA. Now, if you read my medical records from 2018 all the way to 24, no provider said anything that Basali said whatsoever. It was fit for duty. He's all right. And before I got out, my therapist said, if I try to chapter you, I want to let you know it would be very difficult. Very difficult. And even when I got out, the doctor told me with other specified adult personality disorder that there's not even a waiver for that. You can get back in with that. So they thought they had that on me. And then I go to the VA. My first appointment with my therapist in the VA, he told me, hey, I want to let you know I changed your diagnosis. I said, what? Yes, so you have PTSD and depression. But I thought I had personality disorder. He's like, no, you don't. And we spent my first session talking about why I don't have a personality disorder. And then I discovered something else as well. The Army hires bottom-of-the-barrel psychologists who would be either bottom or even considered quacks in the regular civilian world. At least that's how the VA explained it to me and my buddy who works in a mental health treatment facility. So there's hope for me, and I got to remember that. As much as I want to get back in the Army, I realized something. The civilian world was a culture shock for me, and it's something I have to accept and function in. So I decided to stop my process joining the Guard, because I'm also going to college, and I got to tell you guys something. College is a culture and something I desperately needed, and I'm very happy for it. I'm my own man. I'm in charge of me. No one's above me. I'm making really excellent money. I got YouTube, I got TikTok, and I got you guys to take with me on it, and I couldn't be happier. Once I figure this shit out, one day, will I get back in the Army? Hopefully, but if that doesn't happen, I fully accept that. But it's not going to be because of Basali. And I made damn sure of that. And I want to let you guys know, if you fight in this military, you will get what you want. And even if you don't, you keep fighting. You keep fighting to the very end. Don't let people like Bruce Anthony shit on you. Don't let people like Taylor England control your narrative and shit on your character. You don't take that shit. You don't take shit from anybody. And I'll never forget what Cody Wilkerson taught me. He said, don't you take shit from anybody, ever. Maybe that was used against me a little bit. But, you know. Another thing, too. How did they know I had issues with every unit I had? You want to know how they knew that? Because my leadership in B Code 1504 was telling them this bullshit with assumptions of looking at my soldier talent profile, which they tried to bring up at my separation board, which the board didn't buy. My platoon sergeant was excused from the board because he was unprofessional and was making fun of my suicide attempt because he's a little bitch. My first sergeant got questioned about his status of going to Master Leadership course, and he said he never went. And he looked like a dumbass at that board. My commander claimed to have a sworn statement on her desk, but didn't bring it to the board. As I was getting out, she got fired. 8 months as the CO, she got fucking fired. I think I had something to do with it. I think me going to that board and the brigade legal seeing how she is had something to do with that, but she was also a shitbag. She was a shitbag as the S3 OIC from what I heard, and she was a shitbag in BCO. Nobody respected her, and anyone who says they did, it's either because they were fucking her or because they were terrified of what happened to me happening to them. And she was placed in the Jumpmaster school. I made sure that she had a lot of paperwork to do, a lot of proxy clearing to sign as she's doing her change of command layout. Handed her a packet of shit to sign. Oh, but it's in the past. I gotta move forward. I got this channel to take care of, to grow. I got a community that looks after me. And I want to also remember, thank you to Sergeant Major Retired Ramos, ICE, for being there for me. The entire U.S. Army WTF Moments, thank you for being there for me. Thank you for listening to me gripe and those lonely nights when I just couldn't figure shit out. Thank you, Major Jonathan Buckland, for supporting me, offering me letters of recommendation, speaking at my board. Thank you, Captain Johnson, for being there, for sticking up for me, remembering who I am, and never forgetting me. It was hell dealing with this, but it's in the past now. I'm here. PTSD won't define me. And Janine Masai won't define me. And I'll never stop fighting till I get justice or till I figure out what really happened. Alright, guys. Thank you for listening to me gripe. I hope this put into perspective why I reacted the way I did, why I started this whole channel. More videos to come, I promise you. See you later.